Oh, let's see. Okay, welcome to Techforward and Trainer, powered by BureauWorks, the show where AI and innovative, unconventional thinkers take center stage. I'm your host, Viveta Jean, AI Language Solutions Specialist, and today we host a special guest who is leading industry transformation and self-development in the translation and localization industry. Are you ready? Let's not keep you waiting and talk fair and air. We're honored to have with us Josh Goldsmith. Josh has a long journey in the translation and localization industry. He is an interpreter, trainer, lover of all tech things, and founder of Techforward. Today, he will share with us his perspectives, insights, and motivate us to embrace the future. Josh, we're honored to have you with us.
Thank you very much for the invitation, Viveta. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you very much. Would you like to share with us more about your personal career journey?
Sure, my pleasure. So I didn't start out in translation, but I've always loved languages. And so I studied linguistics as an undergraduate and then went on to do a master's degree in language teaching. And then one thing led to another, and I ended up training to become a translator, working as a freelance translator for about 5 years. Then I went into interpreting. I went back to school and did a master's degree in interpreting at the University of Geneva. Worked as an interpreter from then until now. I'm still working both as an interpreter and as a translator, but really one of my major passions is everything technology and training. So I love to teach people about the most cutting edge developments that impact our work as professional translators and interpreters.
You are a brilliant example of lifelong learning, and I believe that our audience is going to be inspired. So, talking about inspiration, could you share with us the inspiration behind founding Techforward and how it has evolved to become a hub for empowering translators through technology driven training?
My pleasure. So I've been running different types of training events for peers for over a decade now, teaching about all sorts of subjects. And we actually were starting to teach online courses well before the pandemic, but the pandemic was really a big push to move in this direction. And with my friend and colleague Alexandra Drexel, we started running a weekly free webinar series during the pandemic at the very beginning. And before we knew it, we had a huge library of webinars, and that has since grown into courses, webinars, summits. So I now run the annual Innovation in Translation, or AI in Translation Summit, as it was last year, as well as a similar summit, Innovation in Interpreting, or AI in Interpreting. I've got a really great membership called Techforward Insiders, where every single month we dive into a new topic to learn about something related to tech and innovation and how we can be more productive and keep up with the changing times. And that's really what it is. It's mostly me being inspired to root out the newest innovations and to break them down into little bite-sized chunks and teach them to colleagues. And it's a huge pleasure to see all of us learning together and growing together and really embracing change.
It is great to hear that from you, and I think we all experienced the success of AI in Translation conference that you organized. It was amazing. It was a huge thing. I mean, so high participation, and so much love about technology. Where is it hidden? I mean, we cannot find it on a daily basis. It is this resistance, but at the same time, there is passion. So I believe that we are close to be more open to it. And talking about AI in translation, as someone deeply engaged in both AI and translation, what are your insights into the current state of AI's impact on translation workflows? And how do you see AI shaping the future of translation practices?
So translators are used to technology and change because machine translation and CAT tools have been part of our work for decades now. And so I think translators, well before the AI era, were used to learning about the newest developments and how these different tools could help us do our work better, to be more productive, to be more accurate by using the client's terminology consistently, to be more consistent. So if we've already translated a slogan or something in the past, to be able to pull it back into our work now thanks to CAT tools. So that's no surprise. The big difference now is that AI is here. It really just overwhelmed us, I think, at first. And since then, everybody has been trying to figure out how to best make use of AI. And I think that we've seen maybe 3 different sets of approaches. One set of approaches is just having an AI tool open alongside your CAT tool or whatever environment you're working in as you work, and using that to try to look things up, maybe help you understand a term, do some research as you're going, look for synonyms or other ways of formulating a phrase. And that's something that is pretty easy. You can do that with the free versions of ChatGPT or with Copilot or with Gemini. Each of them has pros and cons, but that's sort of the first approach, is just having an AI assistant open alongside your, even if you're just translating in a word processor. The second set of tools, I would say, are tools that have started to add in little bits of AI, usually traditional CAT tools. So almost every CAT tool now has tried to build in some type of AI integration. And they all look different. Every tool looks different. And I think that there are some possibilities there, but there are also some limitations of working within a pre-existing system that's been around for a long time. And it's different from the third category of tools, which are tools that are AI native. And there are a few different tools out there for that, not only for translation, but for other types of language-related tasks. So for translation purposes, WordScope, for example, and of course, BureauWorks have both integrated AI straight into the tool from the ground up, and it's really an integral part of what's happening. I won't tell your audience all about BureauWorks because I'm sure they all know how it works, but it's a really innovative approach, bringing in multiple layers of machine translation and AI, sort of aligning them and learning from you on the fly in the way you translate. Really, really neat tool. And there are also tools, maybe not designed for translators, but that are AI native. And I recently taught about a tool called lex.page, which is a really, really interesting tool that uses AI that you can, where you can use AI built right into, basically it's an AI powered word processor to look for synonyms and get suggestions about errors in your text and have it help you streamline. And it's really just a neat AI powered editor. So we've got all of these different tools. We can use them on our own. We can use them within our CAT tools. We can have the AI first CAT tools. And then there's also the possibility of doing your translation first and running it through some sort of AI powered editing tool to tidy it up and make it even better.
Exactly. And yeah, you said something that was really to the point, meaning everything was to the point, but this one was really special. So we had the entrance, let's say, the advent of AI. And the first year, it was the year of hype, I would say. Then the second year is probably this one, which is the year of rejection. And probably we go towards the year of acceptance, because this is the way to go, innovation. And this means that we need more skills, new skills and knowledge for translators to navigate this AI translation era. So going back to Techforward, what specific strategies do you employ to equip translators with the skills and knowledge needed?
I think the most important thing is really just looking at a task that you're trying to sort out, which could be something as simple as getting a synonym or getting another turn of phrase, and then thinking about how you might be able to approach this using AI. And that's what we teach at Techforward, is we take all of these different little tasks, whatever it might be, creating a glossary, researching a subject. And we have looked into how you can do this and broken it down into bite-sized steps. And that's what I do is I teach people in short, accessible chunks how to start using these tools in their work. And that's the short answer. The longer answer is that I have all sorts of courses and tools available for this. So the AI in translation and AI in interpreting boot camps are events that we run twice a year, where we get together for 4 days live and look at the most cutting edge stuff there with big groups of colleagues learning and growing together and exploring together. They're a ton of fun. My monthly webinars often, but not always, touch on AI. And then I even have just a collection of AI prompts for the people who don't have time maybe for the training, but if I give you these curated prompts, you can dive in and start exploring them. And I'd be happy to share a free resource with anybody watching this, either now live or later, which is 15 prompts to help power up your vocabulary and writing with AI. I'll put the link in the chat so people have it. And then if that tickles your fancy, I've got a collection that I put together with Nora Diaz of over 100 tried and tested AI prompts. So, but the short answer is each of these different tasks can be approached with AI. AI isn't always the best tool for certain tasks. I mean, there are places where machine translation is better. There are places where other types of tools like terminology extraction tools are better than AI, both in terms of the resources, of the amount of energy it takes to power them, and the type of output that we get. And I just encourage colleagues to try it out, to explore, to see what works, to compare these tools to the tools they've been using, and slowly, as they find ones that work for them, to start incorporating them in their work. So I'll let you ask a question and I'll pop the link in the chat right now.
Fantastic, fantastic. So let's talk now about the fact that you are actively involved in exploring innovative translation technologies. And I will go a little bit deeper and push a little bit for more information, for deeper information to share with our audience. So could you highlight some recent advancements that you believe hold significant impact and promise for the industry?
It's a tricky question because things are changing literally every day. We've just had the newest edition of ChatGPT, right? GPT 4.0 that came out yesterday, if I'm not mistaken. And it's already offering all sorts of new things that we can do. So I think what I can say to answer your question about the newest innovations is that in recent weeks and months, we've seen major progress on a whole range of different tasks. For example, AI can now do transcription in all sorts of languages and can deal with background noise and multiple speakers much better than it used to be able to do in the past. Now, this has been something that's been around for a while. I've been a huge fan of a tool called Descript for AI-powered video editing, working with the transcript for a long time, but it's getting better. Those of you who saw the most recent models will see that the most recent ChatGPT models will see that AI voices are improving. They're still not perfect, but they're getting better. Not in all languages, of course. This is something to bear in mind. Most AI developments start in English and other major languages like Spanish, Chinese, Korean, Japanese, French, German, Italian, Portuguese are the languages where we see these tools rolled out first, and then later they might be added for other tools. But this is definitely one place where I've seen major strides is in AI voices. There are still major problems, I would say, with the concept of machine interpreting. AI-powered machine interpreting is not there, but the AI is now being programmed to respond in a more human way, even with pauses and ums and ahs if you're chatting with an AI assistant. And I think there are also major developments in terms of how AI can understand visual input. So understand a graph, understand a table, explain the terms from a diagram and give you potential translations in another language. Actually, one of the things I'll be teaching next week in my webinar next week, which is about a tool called TurboScribe, is how you can give AI videos in 2 different languages and then get the transcriptions and get it to align these unaligned texts basically and give you a glossary using the terms that the actual clients would use, right? It's not us going out and doing the research. We do have to check all of this, of course, but it is a pretty neat innovation. There's a lot of others, but these are just some of the most innovative developments we're seeing. Of course, we're going to be seeing more AI generated video, which comes with some major challenges as well. AI generated voices and cloning voices also pose problems for confidentiality, for privacy, for data protection, for passwords and internet security. So big copyright, of course. So these are big thorny questions that we're going to have to work on sorting out.
Amazing. And this means with all this new tech every day that we face challenges every day. And we don't have the time to digest the previous one, and we face the next one. So in your experience, what are some common challenges that translators face in adopting new technologies, and how does Techforward support them in overcoming these challenges?
I think the biggest challenge is probably fear, being afraid and overwhelmed by all of these tools. It feels like they're just coming fast and furious, and keeping up with all these developments is hard work. And so what I do is I try to break it down into little pieces so that it's easy to understand and make it available in lots of different formats too. So anybody who's a visual learner can head over to my blog and read about all sorts of different tools that are out there, where I just walk you through step by step the different ideas. And as you're reading, find a prompt that looks interesting to you and test it out. That's really my recommendation. It can feel really overwhelming to try to learn everything at once. And that's not my recommendation. My recommendation is really one step at a time, and try out different tools, see if they work for you when you have time, see where they might work. And that's really it, just slow and steady.
Mm-hmm. And in the end, learning is not a linear path. So you start by something and you get to something else. And this is the interesting thing of learning. And given your background in education and technology, you are a trainer. But what is different in Techforward? I mean, how does Techforward integrate innovative teaching methods and tools to enhance translators' training experiences?
A lot of webinars are boring. Sorry, I'm going to put it out there and say it. A lot of webinars are boring. And also a lot of on-site training is boring because it's not engaging, it's not interactive. And so what I do is try to shake things up. Now, I offer lots of different formats. People who've been to my events before will have seen some of the different formats that I've done. All of my webinars, my monthly webinars, which are for the insiders community, but there's also free access for 24 hours for everybody. Every single one of them has interactive exercises sprinkled through the webinar, where I will ask people to take 3 minutes and test something out, right? Test out what they've just been learning. So it's not an event where you can just sit in and listen in and go. All of my summits, we ask our speakers to put together a worksheet and to make sure that their presentations are actionable. In other words, to make sure that people can actually take action right now on what they're learning, right? If you talk about a prompt, give them a sample prompt that they can use. If you talk about a transcription tool, give them a link to it and explain the steps so that they can test it out. And the same is the case for our courses. So our courses are all sorts of very short, bite-sized videos, some as short as a minute or two, with the exercise right underneath it, so you can try it immediately. And then, of course, there's a community accompanying this, so people can ask questions and chat about it. But that's my aim, is to make it fun and accessible, not overwhelming. Sometimes something short is enough. I mean, I have these challenges, for example, where every single one is just a short video, about a 5-minute video. You get them 3 times a week. And for 3 weeks to achieve a task like overhauling your LinkedIn profile or setting up your website. That's the next one coming up in June. And there's a worksheet, a workbook that comes with it with a page of instructions and questions that you can use to reflect, and then you feed back into the community. So active learning, taking steps to put what you're learning into practice.
Great, so much organized, and it is great to hear that there is this practical aspect. I would like to ask you, are the courses are synchronous or asynchronous or both?
A little bit of both. So I know that we have colleagues all across the globe who want to learn and grow together. It's really neat to get emails from people in Hong Kong and emails from people in Argentina or on the West Coast and all across the planet, colleagues learning together. That's a real challenge when it comes to doing something synchronous. So the vast majority of what I do, if it's a live event, then there is also a replay for at least 24 hours for free where colleagues can watch it afterwards. I do all sorts of things. So I even for my community, for the insiders, I have office hours where they stretch a whole day and people can write at any time that's convenient for their time zone, and I'll get back to them then. So it's about finding ways to make the best of both worlds, both synchronous and asynchronous opportunities. And really also about ensuring access for everybody so that regardless of where you are, you too can keep learning.
That's amazing. So now I will pick your brain and I will try to get an answer for us, the translators. How can translators strike a balance between leveraging AI-driven translation tools and maintaining the human touch, which is so important, and linguistic nuance in their work?
Don't take AI's output and submit it. Just like machine translation output is not good enough, right? And you look at it and it looks chunky, it looks awkward, and it doesn't read well. And sometimes translators realize that just translating from scratch is better. The same applies for what AI gives you. And actually, there are all sorts of AI buzzwords that AI will use all the time. That's a clear giveaway that a text has been written by AI. So the answer is use this as a tool, but use your brain. Do a sanity check all the time. Look at what AI is suggesting. Think about if it makes sense, and incorporate what works for you into your work. And also, you don't have to use AI all the time. You probably shouldn't use AI all the time. I don't use AI all the time for my work. I still regularly exercise those linguistic muscles that we've spent years developing because that is essential. Read a lot, read texts that aren't written by AI, right? Books and literature and great news papers and articles and journals to also keep up your skills in your language. And really, I mean, it's like everything, striking a balance. Test something out, see where it works, go back to your other things, and find that middle ground that works for you. So to give you a concrete example, I'm very happy to let AI write my emails. Not my emails I send to the whole Techforward community because those are really personal and my style and my flavor, but an email to answer a client who writes me to say, are you available for this translation on this day? Yes, I can quickly throw that into an AI tool, taking out any confidential information or identifying information, and ask AI to either write a response for me in one of my non-native languages, it may be able to write better than I can, or to tidy up what I've written, right? To correct what I've written and clean it up so it looks better. And then again, here comes the human part. I look back through it. I figure out what works because I understand the language. And I said, this isn't how I would write. This is where I would change things. This is too much. So you can really use it as an assistant for some types of tasks, but not for all of the creative, intellectual, interesting stuff that makes us tick as translators and interpreters.
Super. And looking ahead, what emerging trends do you foresee shaping the future of translation technology? And how can translators stay ahead of the curve to remain competitive in the industry, which is also a very hot question?
It's obviously it's hard to predict the future. Nobody has a crystal ball. But I would say we're going to see more of these AI first tools. We're going to see more traditional CAT tools trying to pull in AI in a way that's not a knee jerk reaction, because some of the first integrations were just knee jerk reactions, right? We need to just do something, make something happen. We've got to add AI, but maybe they'll be thinking about how to do it in a way that makes sense. So some of the more interesting tools really try to understand the problem, right? If a problem is onboarding a client and getting a translation assigned to the right translator based on their skill set, these are places where a well-designed tool may be able to help and streamline some of that work. As I said before, I think we're going to see lots more multimodality in AI. So much more ability to work with images, maybe to generate better quality images, although it's still obviously there are reasons we have human artists and human designers doing this work. I think we're going to be seeing more AI generated video as well, and more ability for AI to understand the world we live in. But it's still a long way. Still a long way from really getting it. If you watch some of the most recent OpenAI demos that just came out in the last day or two, where the founder of OpenAI there's a fun one where he has two phones talking to each other, two AI tools talking to each other, and you can just see how they get lost, right? One of them just keeps chatting and chatting and chatting, and a human would know how to keep a conversation under control. So they're doing what they're instructed to do, but it's not human intelligence. It's just clear guidelines. And we're seeing the tools more closely resembling humans in terms of how they sound and the output they produce, but there's still plenty of errors, and it's still not a human understanding.
Thank you so much for your insights, Josh. And let's go and have fun now. I'm going to have 5 fast questions for you of 10 seconds for you to reply. If not, I will be rude and interrupt you. So, ready to start?
Let's do it.
Okay. So, what's one tool or tip you can share that makes you most productive?
Get an invoicing tool. It will save you a ton of time. Keep it all organized, fire it off with a single click. I recommend lsp.expert, which I talk about in a blog post.
What's the biggest myth people believe when it comes to translation and technology?
We're going to lose our jobs.
What's your favorite word in your native language?
I can't pick just one.
Using one word, how would you describe AI?
Revolutionary.
What's the weirdest thing you've experienced with AI?
The weirdest thing, having it try to generate logos and show and write text. And I think I can show some images of that right now if we're done with the rapid fire round of questions, because you told me this question was coming. And honestly, AI is not great at writing, at creating logos. This is for a product I have called AI Language Club, where every week colleagues get a tip about ways you can use AI for language learning. And I asked it to try to come up with some logos, and it's just a mess. Look at the English, the text on the screen. Language Club, Lini Language, AWTH AI. I mean, this was some of the silliest things I've seen AI come up with. Look at the one in the upper right. Any Lianai/AI. I mean, it couldn't even spell AI Language Club half the time. So this is changing. These tools will get better at this, but for the moment, getting AI to write text on images it generates. Also, these logos are quite honestly not very good, but it was a fun and entertaining experience.
It's true. It's true. Thank you for sharing. Whenever I try to generate images, because for me it is a means to co-create with AI. It is okay. What is going to happen if I have something specific in my mind? Let's see if it can read my mind in a way. So it is very interesting. It's like a game, but in the end, when you see the localization aspects of it, or the language, it's a mess. So thank you very much for sharing.
Sure.
It was really interesting for the audience. And by this interesting sharing by Josh. We're going to thank you, Josh, for making our Talk Fair and Air podcast a learn and fun experience. And Talk Fair and Air is an event hosted by BureauWorks. BureauWorks is a cloud-based translation management system integrating innovative AI translation technology. And the winner of the Process Innovation Challenge at Local 50, we're going to be a candidate this time as well. If you want to experience pure AI innovation in translation technology, sign up for a free trial using the link we share with you in the comments, coming with a special offer, 30% off for the first 3 months, or book a demo with me if you want to have something live to navigate AI in translation. So any other message, Josh, for our audience?
I think my message would just be keep learning and growing. And I would love to help you with that. The easiest way is just heading over to techforward.com and checking out the blog. There's lots of articles on all sorts of topics. You'll find something that's interesting to you. But yeah, don't be afraid. Test it out, see what works for you. And I hope to see you at one of our events in the future so we can learn about these cutting edge developments and how to stay productive and keep up with the changing times together.
Follow Josh, he's inspiring. Thank you very much. This wraps up our conversation for today. A big thank you once again to all of you for being with us and for tuning in. Remember, if you respect your professional identity, you need to follow the advances of this industry. It is a matter of ethics in the end, and stay tuned for more episodes of Talk Fair on Air. Until next time, take care and keep translating Talk Fair on Air.